Day to all my dear children present here. Those who are appearing for NEET biology, congratulations that you are preparing for such a prestigious exam and you want to become doctors, join the most noble profession of the world. And here we are, we teachers. We want to help you out by making you learn few concept wise, where in a short period of 10 to 12 minutes we will be making you understand a concept. For example, today I am here with the fluid mosaic model. Children, for the last 10 years the fluid mosaic model, based on this concept, there are nearly 5 plus questions which have come. Almost every year there is a question on fluid mosaic model. So today we'll discuss on the fluid mosaic model. So welcome to my BioBytes. So please remember my channel BioBytes, where we'll be discussing on a concept for 10 to 12 minutes. So today's concept is fluid mosaic model. Now as you can see children, the plasma membrane, we have already learned it is a bilipid layer. Now bilipid layer, in the sense it consists, first let me talk about the fluid mosaic model was given by two scientists by the name S.J. Singer and Garth Nicholson. So you need to remember these two names. It was proposed by S.J. Singer and Garth Nicholson in 1972. Now the fluid mosaic model tells us about the structure of plasma membrane, and they call it a dynamic membrane. Now the question arises, what we mean by dynamic? Dynamic in the sense, children, it is neither too fluid like water nor too stiff or rigid. Right? It is in between. Either it is neither too watery nor too rigid. And it is made up of phospholipid bilayer. So here you can see there are two layers here. So layer 1 and 2. So this is the phospholipid bilayer. Now this layer is made up of phospholipids, and you can see here there are two here each phospholipid has two parts. So here you can see this is a hydrophilic part, right, and this is a hydrophobic tail. So it is like a tail. Now hydrophilic, now the meaning of philic is something which loves. Phobia means which hates. Now you can see these hydrophilic heads are facing the surface, whereas the hydrophobic tails are inside, or they hate water like. Right. So here it is, what is the main point you need to remember, that our plasma membrane is made up of a phospholipid bilayer with proteins. So here you can see these are the proteins. So here the proteins are, some proteins we will be learning in detail about this. Some proteins are embedded and some proteins are peripheral. Right. So let us finish off with learning about proteins. Children, here there are two types of proteins. We call them as integral proteins and peripheral proteins. Integral, the name itself tells inside, right, something which is inside, integral. So you can see these proteins are embedded into the plasma membrane, whereas you can see the peripheral proteins are the ones which you find them on the surface, right? So what are the two types of proteins we have learned now? The integral proteins, which are embedded, and the peripheral proteins which are present on the surface. So number one, our plasma membrane is made up of a phospholipid bilayer. It is made up of proteins, the two types of proteins, integral and peripheral proteins. And the plasma membrane is also made up of some carbohydrates. You can see here these are the carbohydrates. So this one, what you can see, so there are two types of carbohydrates, mainly the glycoprotein and the glycolipid. So you can see the carbohydrates the glycoprotein carbohydrates and the glycolipid carbohydrates. So these mainly help in cell signaling or receiving the information. So these children, in cell recognition or cell communication, these carbohydrates play a major role. Now, in addition to this, our fluid mosaic model also has, can you see these children? These are called, this is nothing but this is cholesterol. We will be learning in detail about cholesterol. Cholesterol plays a major role in maintaining the fluid maintaining the proper fluidity of the plasma membrane. Let us move on to the next one. So as we have learned, plasma membrane consists of phospholipid bilayer. Here you can see the bilayer. Let me repeat, the hydrophilic head facing the surface and the hydrophobic tails. You can see here the tails, hydrophobic. O comes second, so inside. Philic, I, hydrophilic, I comes first, so they are on the surface, like that you remember. Hydrophobic inside, hydrophilic outside, right? Then we learnt about the proteins, which are two types: integral proteins and peripheral proteins. Integral means they are present inside or embedded. Peripheral, they are present on the surface, right? Then we will be learning about cholesterol, which is present in animal cells. The main function of cholesterol, where children get confused, is cholesterol maintains the membrane fluidity, right? And of course it is made up of carbohydrates. So you can see the different the substances which make up the plasma membrane, right? We have the phospholipids, the hydrophilic head and the hydrophobic tail, right? We have the proteins, the integral and the surface or extrinsic proteins. We have the carbohydrates, right? And we have the cholesterol. Now here, why it is called as a fluid and mosaic? As I told you children, fluid because it is neither rigid nor flexible, right? That is the reason why we call it as a fluid model, right? It is neither too rigid nor too flexible, right? Now why it is called as mosaic? Mosaic means, you see here, just observe this surface here children, you will not see continuous one layer here. You can see there are some proteins, you can see the carbohydrates, you can see the proteins here embedded, you can see the carbohydrates again, you can see these proteins here. So why we call it as mosaic means these substances are scattered on the plasma membrane, right? On the lipid, the hydrophilic head, right? They are scattered like tiles. That is the reason why the name is given as mosaic. Now you know these functions of plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is selectively permeable, right? Now I want here to just in a short time tell you about selectively permeable and semi-permeable. Children, semi-permeable is where it is allowing water just inside, but selectively permeable, which our plasma membrane is. Suppose plasma membrane is allowing oxygen to move from outside to inside. Now if the concentration of oxygen is same both inside and outside, plasma membrane will stop even the movement of oxygen, right? So here what is it doing? It is selectively permeable. That means it is allowing the substances as and when they complete the concentration gradient. When the concentration gradient is equal, till then it will allow. Once it is sufficient, then it will stop, right? So it is related to our solutes or solutes mostly, whereas semi permeable means it is related to the solvent water. Now next, the other function, as you know, it helps in transportation, diffusion of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide, osmosis, the movement of water inside, and active transport. We will be learning about this in our later videos. right? And the functions of plasma membrane, it also helps in cell communication, as we have learned about the carbohydrates here, glycolipids and phospholipids. They mainly help in cell recognition and cell communication. Then one of the main functions of our plasma membrane is it gives structural support. And here the most important lines: it is a quasi fluid in nature. Quasi fluid means it is very flexible, neither too rigid nor too flowy like water. It is in between. That is what we call it as quasi fluid. And proteins are floating, right? Proteins are floating. So quasi fluid also means that you find proteins which are floating in it. It is not a continuous membrane. You will find proteins, carbohydrates in between. Then it is selectively permeable. These are the things to be remembered, children. Now I was talking about the cholesterol here. Now how can we say that cholesterol maintains fluidity? Now here, children, you see, the cholesterol, it plays a major role here. Now when the temperature is very low, the cholesterol which is present inside, you can see here between the plasma membrane, right, it will not allow the plasma membrane to become too rigid. You have seen, children, you have observed in our kitchen, like when it is winter season, mostly the ghee which we make or which we purchase during winter season, the ghee will solidify, and during summer season it will become liquid, right? Now here the cholesterol which is present here in between the, which is embedded in the plasma membrane, when the temperature is low, the cholesterol will not allow the plasma membrane to become too rigid. It will maintain its fluidity, or it will maintain its quasi nature. And when the temperature is high again, the cholesterol will not allow the plasma membrane to become too fluid in nature. So you see, this is very important, how cholesterol controls the fluidity, right? So mostly when such questions are asked, children will get confused. They write the answer as proteins. It's not proteins, it is a cholesterol which controls the fluidity. Now let us move on to the questions. So who proposed the fluid mosaic model? Of course it is Singer and Nicholson. Which component maintains membrane fluidity? Just now we have learnt membrane fluidity. It is the cholesterol. Then integral proteins are, integral means inside, right? Inside, embedded in, right? So integral proteins are embedded in the lipid bilayer. Plasma membrane is, of course, one and only selectively permeable. Which statement is correct about plasma membrane? It is a quasi fluid, neither too solid nor too liquid, right? So it is in between. Now common mistake, as I have told you, protein function with cholesterol. Cholesterol is the one which maintains the fluidity, right? Don't forget the quasi fluid term. And integral and peripheral proteins. Now you need to remember, what does our plasma membrane consist of? LPC, lipid bilayer, proteins, cholesterol, and it is a fluid mosaic. Fluid means it is movement, mosaic in the sense arrangement. The arrangement is not continuous, but it has some proteins or then the carbohydrates embedded in it. Thank you so much, children. God bless you and all the very best. I'll come back with more concepts like this. Thank you all and all the best.